In this video, I want to offer some perspective, some commentary on this video, which is made from Kelsey, who has a channel called the Diary of the Childfree. And if I understand correctly, the whole channel is about reducing stigma on people who choose not to have kids. She has a husband. Some people give them a hard time about that.
And today, I want to discuss something a little bit more serious in nature.
She's not talking slowly. I think the pace is excellent, but I'm gonna run it a little bit faster.
Hurtful thing or things that you've been told as a child-free person. Those who choose not to have children are very much still human beings. And I would hope that most people could understand the weight that some words hold, regardless of who it may be.
Absolutely agree with that.
I also think that it's really important that we open up about topics such as this one. Because even if we're able to stay strong or mask our feelings well enough, sometimes there comes a moment when the things that we get told can cause us to self-destruct. It doesn't mean we are weak. We are allowed to feel what we need to feel in the moment.
If an amount of criticism that is not excessive, I don't know how much criticism she gets, I guess a lot, but she chooses to have a public profile, so that comes with it. But it can be a possibility that we are too weak, too snowflakey. So if the same amount of criticism for the same thing affects one person a little bit and the other person is crushed, yes, the person who is crushed is weak, or that can be the case. We will see in her videos there's the pattern, oh, you're great, you're awesome, it doesn't mean that you're weak, it doesn't mean that you're a coward, it doesn't mean that you're brainwashed. How does she know? Maybe you're not, maybe you are.
And it's not fair to our bodies to hold on and keep that negativity inside, but instead let it out and let it go. First and foremost, let's remember that just because we don't see something as being hurtful to somebody doesn't mean that it isn't. We all feel things at different levels, as each of our experiences is very unique.
Experiences. It's a bad transcription. That is true. That's the whole topic about how much intention matters, for example. So if you intend to tease me but I get offended, how much it's my fault that I overreacted, or it's your fault that you didn't consider that I might be hurt.
If being child-free definitely has its benefits, but it's far from being easy as well. It can be challenging and cutthroat to challenge the status quo because honestly, people hate change, and they will surely let you know.
It is a big change. The fact that we have even the option to be child-free in the 21st century is a completely new thing. Making kids, having a family was never an option. It was a biological privilege that literally all the people who reproduced had. And if we want to talk about animals and not humans, this may indeed be the most important thing for an animal. Survival. Why? For reproduction. That's a biological imperative. We humans have gone way beyond our animalistic nature, which is still there, of course. But now, indeed, we have completely new territory where people can choose to be parents, can choose to not be parents. They can choose what to eat. They can choose when they have light and when they have darkness. This is a completely new thing. But because it's so against our biological programming, indeed, it can feel very uncomfortable.
Especially when your choices stir up questionable emotions in others, particularly jealousy.
I don't like this. Don't put in the same bucket all the criticism. Some may have a big component of jealousy, some may have a big component of pity. And of course you will receive all that criticism because this is exactly why you created your channel, to bring light to that issue, and the consequence of it will be an amount of support, an amount of criticism, an amount of debate. So this is exactly what you're going for. Don't dismiss all the criticism.
As much as we all strive to tough things out, be a strong representation inside of our communities, and act like certain things don't strike a nerve, sadly, they can sometimes build up over time. And as much as I would wish to be invincible, I know myself and others have our moments where things can really get under our skin. Often enough, the manner or way in which something was said just makes all the difference. Who it was around, or even if we were feeling more susceptible to our emotions at that time.
These are all very reasonable statements. I would hope they're obvious to most people, but it's not bad that she clarifies the context matters.
And I think it's important that we recognize these moments and parts of ourselves because, like I said not long ago, we're only human. And if we were to just go about life living like emotionless robots, there would be such a lack of diversity, discussion, and creativity. For me personally...
Stop. So, in this part, you acknowledge that sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can break hearts, and it may be unhealthy to bottle up and be silent when we are attacked by different directions, and to pretend that it doesn't affect us. If people are being mean to you for the fact that you chose not to have kids, or, by the way, for the fact that you choose to make it your brand and your identity and your community, which is something that I personally, for example, dislike. But I wouldn't be mean to you in particular. I would be critical to the choice of making a community and a cause out of it, for which I may be completely wrong. It may be actually very useful rather than damaging. I don't know everything. Anyway, when we get messages that hurt us, it might be useful to talk about it. And that's what this video is about.
I've been trying to turn the narrative around on my negative experiences regarding my child-free choices, especially lately. I know that not everyone is going to understand, and they may never understand, but I know
Yeah, so you say that this is your brand, this is your cause, this is your project.
that together in this community, we can continue to show those who are looking to hear what we have to say that their voices do matter and that they have the ability to choose whatever they want to for their own life. Because
Whose voices? The ones that are critical of the cause or the ones that don't want to have kids? Now you switch to talking about people who don't want to have kids, but why not consider the part of the audience that is legitimately concerned about this cause or these videos?
do matter and that they have the ability to choose whatever they want to for their own life, because only they should be the ones to decide if parenthood is right for them.
This is a statement, for example, I completely disagree with. We live in a society, we are interdependent, whether you like it or not, whether you intend or not, are affecting my life to a tiny, tiny amount. I affect your life too. A big decision like parenthood is practically free in the West right now, but think of the social repercussions in a much more narrow-minded country. You may have to pay an extremely expensive price to choose not to be a parent, or think a scenario, for example, where you live in a village of 1,000 people and there is a genetic condition of infertility and there is only 4 women that can have kids in that village and you are one of them. All of a sudden, your responsibility of bringing new life to the world is much higher than in a normal place where, okay, if I don't have kids, she will have, so we will be all right. There is so many people around us that we forget that the only way to continue as a species is to actually reproduce.
Despite any hate or fear that may be tried against them. The most hurtful thing I've been told as a child-free person thus far, in person I must add because online is a whole other story, may not seem as extreme as to what others may have experienced, but it doesn't mean that it didn't feel like a punch in the gut either. For me, it's that constant invalidation of my personal choice. When people challenge my ability, sometimes without even realizing, to make appropriate choices for my own life, it says a lot more than they realize sometimes. When I hear things like, oh, you're too young, you'll change your mind, or just wait until you hit your 30s or 40s, you're telling me that I'm incapable of making choices that make sense for my life.
Indeed, that attitude can be very condescending, very annoying. I have to admit I'm guilty of this mindset that sometimes I assume I know better than someone else what is better for their lives. But what is missing from that statement, I'm not saying that she has to say it, but what is missing from that statement is the caveat that we indeed sometimes make poor choices. We indeed don't know what will be better for us in the long run. And of course, if we are grown-ups, we still choose what we do for ourselves. But if the world, including ourselves in the future, finds our choice problematic, we better know. Of course, there's a line between constructive criticism and offering a viewpoint versus shaming, humiliating, and insulting people for choosing something that affects us just a little bit. Now, since you have a platform and your goal is to destigmatize something that many people, including myself by the way, consider an idea that is harmful to the majority of the people, I would say it's justifiable to get some negative feedback, but somebody can give negative feedback by being an asshole about it and insulting you and offending you, or it may say the more hurtful thing that the person in your real life said that, you know what, you may change your mind. And because you have built this whole ideology empire, including this YouTube channel, and just reinforcing this idea that you don't want to have kids, if biologically, if instinctively in the future there will be some urge to be a mother, I don't know, maybe it will never be, I don't know. But the point of these people maybe is that you don't know also, not because you don't know yourself today, but because you don't know exactly how you will feel in 5 years from now. So I think that's legitimate criticism on the fact that you choose a very, very personal matter to become your brand, to become your window to publicity, in that if you ever change your mind, it may be catastrophic for your career, for your reputation, because this is an emotional topic. So I hope that's a legitimate criticism. Nothing about jealousy, nothing about, I don't know you personally, it's just speaking reasonable thoughts I have watching this video.
It's as if they never consider the immense thought that goes into a choice like that, almost as if we just magically woke up one day and said hell no to children, because
No, it doesn't work like this either way. To have kids or to not have kids is not a decision like I sign a contract. Now I don't want to have kids and that will be valid in 5 years. Those things can change. Ask people around you, I'm sure you have. There is people who within 1 or 2 years have become a completely different person by wanting to become parents or by becoming parents. And again, this is a great privilege you have in the West in the 21st century to choose that, but it's also a huge responsibility because in the past it was not even a choice. If you can have kids, you have kids. That's it.
In reality, it is something we have really thought on, done research, spoken to fellow child-free friends about, and even weighed the pros and cons regarding what it takes to raise and parent a child. If someone is old enough to vote, drive, drink, and live on their own, they are fully capable of knowing what is best for them.
No, they're not.
With that,
Sorry for this. I'm trying to find flattering freeze frames. No, we are never able to know what's best for us in the long run. Of course, to come to your side a little bit, that doesn't mean that our friends know better than us. But I would say in any case, living a life that makes changing your mind about something so important very difficult deliberately, I do think it's a little bit naive, a little bit stupid, if I may say. To wear your choice of not having kids as an identity, as a big part of who you are, makes it so hard to change your mind if you do, not if somebody else tells you, And I hope it doesn't happen to you. I genuinely hope you never want to have kids, because the cost of either having them or not having them would be crushing to you. So I really hope you never want to have kids. But why take this huge risk of making it hard for you to have kids if something changes? That is what makes me uncomfortable about this whole cause.
Though, we should also never discredit children for saying they never want to be a parent. Sure, they could change their mind, but they also may not, and it's not a parent's choice to decide that for them. It's their own.
You very well understand that kids can say a lot of things and change their mind, but you claim that you did a lot of research, you have weighed the pros and cons, you're a grown-up, and your choice is much more legitimate than a child's. And I would agree with that, but I wouldn't agree that it's unchangeable, even with zero social pressure from either side.
Just because you don't like someone's personal choice doesn't mean it's the wrong one. You don't know what that person has been through, what their day-to-day life looks like, how they handle stress and anxiety, and endless more reasons that play into the everyday choices that we make. It's of no concern to friends, family, or strangers because our choices, specifically being child-free, have zero effect on them.
I would say that's mostly true if you don't make a campaign for it. So for some people, the choice of not having kids is a clearly negative choice. Again, I am one of these people. So maybe for me, not having kids is something like smoking. Let's say smoking alone. Okay? If you're smoking alone, you expose no one to passive smoke. It's your choice. I do feel it may be worse for you, but I'm not sure because maybe smoking makes you a more creative person, it relaxes you. So maybe you have a better life smoking actually. So it's practically none of my business. But if you start a campaign that destigmatizes or even celebrates smoking, I'm gonna have the problem with the campaign. So I would like you to understand that for some people, the choice of not having kids is something clearly negative, in that if you can have kids, you are healthy and intelligent and have the resources to grow them, it is ethically correct and maybe healthy to want to have them and have them. I'm not gonna hate you for choosing not to do it. We could probably hang out and be best friends. And that's just one part of your life that I disagree with. But if you make that part of your life, your cause, your identity, your campaign, then it's easier to have reasonable voices that will criticize you. And of course, for every 10 reasonable voices, you will have 1,000 assholes cursing you and writing offensive and degrading comments. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the internet. But don't dismiss those 10 voices. I would like to hope that I am one of them.
It's plausible that a child-free person could be a great parent. I mean, people adapt and they learn, but they could also be terrible. And that's why we make the choices that we do regarding being child-free, because there is so much that goes into having and raising a child that so much can go wrong in such a short period of time. And everything is not for certain.
This is, in my opinion, an ugly point. So I'm not saying that you say that for yourself, but if you say that someone doesn't want to have kids partially because they think they would be a horrible parent, what do you make of that person? Like in the past we didn't have abortions. What if a woman who thinks she would be a horrible mother or who fears that she would be a horrible mother has a child? It's a very emotional topic, but is that admitting that I may be a horrible person if I suspect I would make a horrible parent? Life is not all about choice. We don't choose to be born, we don't choose our diseases, we don't choose how to die. We raise to the occasion in many circumstances, right? So if somebody lives in a basket with a baby and I'm the only one who can raise it, I better rise to the occasion and be as good parent as possible. If you would have to have a child tomorrow, that should be your number one priority. And maybe you don't want that to be, but well, in the past you didn't have the choice. So I really don't like the argument, which I've heard from many people by the way, that, oh, what if I'm a horrible parent? My parents were horrible parents to me. What if I'm like this to my kids? It's very emotional. I don't like it as an argument for not having kids. even if I see where it's coming from.
Society continually tries to convince people that parenthood will be amazing and that it's going to be so well worth it. But the moment someone becomes a horrible...
Not that it will be amazing, but it will be well worth it. If you talk with any parents, they tell you it's a hell. It's a horrible, horrible, painful, energy draining, stressful circumstance, which is also totally worth it. I think most good parents can feel like that.
There's immediately this backtrack to they should have never had children. Online.
I don't know who says that. For me, and maybe it sounds naive to say, if I see someone being a horrible parent, I don't think they should never have kids. I think they shouldn't be a horrible parent. If there was something to change, that wouldn't be them not having kids. That would be them raising to the occasion and growing them well. Because we are all horrible sometimes in some things. And every parent makes mistakes in the way they raise their kids. But that's inevitable. On anything, in order for humanity to exist, we have to have parents that make horrible mistakes sometimes. There's no other way.
Online is a different story. The comment section is home to all the thoughts and opinions that no one would ever dare say to another person's face.
That is true. For every person who talks about an emotional topic, they will get a lot of nameless avatar profiles just contaminating the comment section with poisonous bullshit. Okay. That's totally fair.
This is the place where it's not unheard of for child-free people to hear the most unhinged, stereotypical child-free bingos, old-school narratives, and even death threats. It can feel like the Wild West in the world of social media sometimes. And if I'm being honest, no one is safe from the wrath of an unhappy person hiding behind a nameless and faceless account.
Well, the moment you see a nameless and faceless account, you can immediately delete the comment before even reading it. This is an advice I would give to anyone who runs a YouTube channel, and I will try to keep it for myself. We don't have to ingest the poisonous comments. Even in the cases they have a good point packaged in mean, horrible attitude, you don't have to do that. That's your channel, that's your voice. Just because there's so many spamming, trolling, vicious comments, you wouldn't want, hopefully, to dismiss constructive criticism, which is this video I'm making right now. I hope it's clear that not all the criticism is the same, and slurs and insults are not criticism, they're just spam. They're ugly spam.
Count. At the end of the day, though, these comments don't mean a single thing, because that person...
There you go. So, you say in the same sentence...
No one is safe from the...
No one is safe from the wrath of an unhappy person. Yeah, but you are safe, because it doesn't mean anything. What makes text unsafe is being able to hurt you. So I want to hope that the video I'm making right now is hurting you much more than these comments, because I may have some good points versus somebody who writes random insults. I do hope this type of video hurts you more than other videos, not because I want to hurt you. Why would I want to hurt you personally? But because maybe like your friends who you don't like, that they say that you may change your mind, maybe there is some legitimacy to this criticism.
Person hiding behind a nameless and faceless account. At the end of the day, though, these comments don't mean a single thing, because that person has to hide behind their little screen in order to express those things. After all, a lot of what these people, keyboard warriors as they're called, spew out is just their own projected fears.
Absolutely correct. Not just fears, just a sad, miserable state of mind, I would say.
In short, words do hurt. And the reality of things is that depending when we get caught up in them, they can feel like they're eating away at you or even setting in some doubt. I want to remind you all that you are in no way weak. In fact, I find that showing emotion is actually a...
How do you know? Some people are weak and they have to work on their tolerance and their response to the offensive language of the internet.
Sign of strength, because it takes a lot to be comfortable in your own skin, not to mention to be that open and vulnerable. So if you feel willing or comfortable enough to share, what's the most hurtful thing, whether it's been in person or online, that's been said to you regarding your child-free choice? You can share your story or simply just add to the topic of the video in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to stay posted. And as always, keep being authentically child-free.
I mean, this presupposes, of course, that you want to be child-free, but yeah, you know what? The videos are overall presented in a honest, open, not smug way. I think some people who choose to be child-free and talk about it are smug. We've seen some examples. She's not really smug, she's fine. But yeah, that was my 2 cents, my criticism. And yeah, if you check out Kelsey's channel and videos, of course I shouldn't need to say it, but I hope any comments and any criticism is worded with some basic kindness. Even if we are in the internet and you can easily choose to be rude, just don't. Just don't. Thank you for watching, feel free to write me any comments, and I'll see you all in the next video.